talk about what advisors are asking, estate planning rules, results, and real world wins. And kind of the backstory of this office hours is we did a webinar with Trust and Will a couple months ago, and we got so many questions on this webinar, so much engagement, especially towards the end around estate planning logistics and all these different questions that we just didn't have time to answer on that webinar. So we wanted to have Andreas back to be able to answer some of those questions, go through some new data that Trust and Will has that's really interesting and different, and showcase some new campaigns as well. So let's dive into this first part, which is going to be a rapid fire question session on estate planning logistics. So here we go. Andreas, what are the risks or compliance considerations for advisors offering estate planning content and services?
Main thing here, and this is the most consistent question we get, as estate planning has like completely changed in the last 5 to 6 years in terms of how advisors offer estate planning services. Biggest risk is don't offer your clients like a specific recommendation that could be perceived as legal advice. And in the process of when your clients are creating an estate plan, and that could be us or there's many other different platforms like ours today, it's how are you setting yourself in terms of the expectations of what your role is when your client is creating an estate plan. So you can educate your clients all day long on what's an executor, what's a beneficiary, what's the difference between a trust and a will. But biggest thing you want to get in the habit of is making sure that that your client doesn't think, I went to Mike and I walked away from the meeting and Mike told me, and I need to create a trust, and here's how I do it, and here's how I should structure it, because that could again be perceived as legal advice or unauthorized practice of law. So many of our very successful advisors that get a lot of their clients to do an estate plan are very hands-on, but there's a lot of limitations and there's a lot of expectations on how you want to bring this up to your clients to make sure that they're not thinking that you're making a product recommendation or anything like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like the fine line between education versus advice. You can be talking generally, here's the benefits of estate planning, here's why it's important, here's some things to think about, but you wouldn't go as far as saying, here's what you specifically should do based on your situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I think we got some other questions related to this as well, so we'll probably be diving deeper. And if you guys have additional questions, about what we're talking about as we go through this, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. We may see them in the chat as well, but drop them in the Q&A. We'll definitely see them, and we'll make sure to cover those as well. Question number 2, what can advisors legally discuss around estate planning?
Yeah. So to add on to the previous question, all around education. So I'll use kind of 2 use cases. So use case 1 is client doesn't have an estate plan. They've never created an estate plan before. So what you're able to do in various cases, even integrate this into your financial planning, is the full-on education of what is an estate plan, what are the key roles, and then what you're also able to discuss are trust funding and retitling of assets. So this is where a lot of advisors are seeing this as a very, very unique opportunity, not just to say, I refer them to trust and will, or I refer them to an attorney, but also what are the next steps, how you can actually add more value and say, got a copy of your estate plan, here are the assets that you have. Let's talk through into how they're currently titled today. And then as an example, if your client created a trust, well, what would be the next steps in getting those assets into the name of the trust? So there's a lot of different from doc creation to number 2 is funding the assets, transferring and retitling. And I would also say is legally, you can also talk about a client that has an existing estate plan. So for example, we have a lot of different tools that enable you to say, hey, client, you have an estate plan. You've told me it's outdated. I am not an attorney. I can't provide legal advice on what changes you should make. But what I can do is help do a summary of what's in the documents for you and legal counsel to decide if you should make updates and what those updates should be. So those are kind of the three key things, Mike, that we're seeing a lot of consistency in the industry around use cases for how advisors can bring up estate planning without putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's specific things you can discuss and can't discuss. Let's say you're in a situation where you're talking to a client about estate planning and they start asking some of these specific questions like, oh, what do you think I should do? And just kind of asking for that advice. Do you have that happen to advisors?
Oh yeah, yeah, it happens because look, at the end of the day, advisors do such an amazing job of building those relationships with their clients that your client perceives you as like you know it all, right? I can ask you any question. So I think at that point of view, it's a matter, when you're talking about legal documents, is really making sure that you set the boundaries correct. So if a client's from that example, Mike potentially asks, well, advisor, should I be creating a trust then? Right. So that's where we just want to get in the habit of I am not an attorney and I can't provide legal advice. I can provide you education on the differences, but in many cases, how the advisor can essentially bring up how do you access an attorney if you do need that legal advice. And obviously, with trust and will, that's one of our big value propositions as well, as your clients can access attorney support in all 50 states. So, answer your question, you will get questions from your clients where you will kind of draw the line and say, that's outside my scope as I'm not a licensed attorney, and an estate planning attorney would be able to help you with that specific question.
Oh, okay. Um, so good segue into when should an attorney be brought into the process?
Yeah, so here's the thing that we're seeing, and trust and will, we're 8, 9 years in since we started the company, almost 6 since we started our advisor channel and partnering with amazing financial advisors nationwide. We are seeing two use cases. One is the client that's simple, straightforward, doesn't have, complex estate plan situation, and goes through the process. And I'm talking specifically with Trust and Will because that's what I know the best. And they go through the process and they're like, this makes sense. I decided between a trust and a will. Trust and Will provided the education. Maybe the advisor also helped in providing the education, and it's fairly straightforward. Like there's no, complex family dynamics. Maybe assets aren't that high. Maybe they're under $500,000 in value. And that client can go through and literally set up an estate plan through our platform without talking to an attorney. And in that use case, the client didn't bring up to the advisor, like, how should I structure this distribution? Or what about XYZ asset? Like there wasn't any specific questions because the situation was maybe fairly straightforward. And the second use case, which is going to answer this question, is like the client that says, like, okay, well, I have my primary home, my investment property. I've been, previously married. Now I have a, second marriage, and there's some complexities. So what I would recommend in that scenario where you as an advisor like uncover like, okay, this client is gonna need more guidance, has more complexities. So from the very beginning, honestly, should be brought into the process. So as an example, if advisors are using Trust and Will, the client goes through, one of the very first questions is, do you want to do the attorney support add-on? And then your clients would be able to literally schedule a call directly with an attorney in our network to go through, here's what I have, here's what I'm looking to achieve, what are the steps that I should take to get there? So my advice is as early as possible, as soon as you kind of identify, even though it's not really like your role to say you should talk to an attorney or not. But I think based on like the level of questions that you're getting from your clients, and or again, you knowing your clients' assets, finances, and family dynamics as well.
Cool. So yeah, based on the level of complexity and or some of those questions that people have coming in, and potentially just the level of assets as well.
Absolutely.
So in that situation where you do bring an attorney in, how should advisors set expectations around ongoing attorney access?
So I would say I think it really depends on, is it like a local attorney that you're working with or is it via trust and will? if it's via trust and will, I will say one of the things that advisors value is that your clients, if they engage with our attorney support, it's not just a one time 30-minute call and I better have all my questions or else I have to pay more to talk to the attorney. Our expectations for our advisors is that your clients would be able to engage with an attorney for a full 12 months. So that's an amazing way where your clients can say, if I have a follow-up question, I can email the attorney, I can call the attorney, etc. That's obviously not going to be the use case if you are working with local attorneys. So I would say expectations here on like attorney access is like if they're working with an attorney that you're recommending, which we love attorneys. We actually do a great job like complementing the relationships that you'll have with attorneys. I think it really comes down to set the expectations up front on you. Most attorneys are going to charge you hourly once you get the documents in place. So what are all the questions that you have now to prepare you for the conversation with the attorney to really, at the end of the day, make it a lot easier for your clients to have the engagements with the attorneys that you might be working, either again locally or via trust and will.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a nice value add getting that full 12-month access.
Oh yeah, I think like many times, takes them back to my, over a decade in private banking where I would ask clients, "Have you updated your estate plan?" Because they would come in and set up the trust account with me at the bank. And a lot of times it was like, no, I'm dreading setting up the appointments, having to pay the hourly fee. So there is a lot of value in the way that we've really set up our subscription for your clients in accessing the attorney support.
Cool. Okay, next question is, can advisors help review existing estate documents? I think you already answered this one earlier, but let's just cover it real quickly
I
again.
would add some content to this question based on my previous comment. So yes, but be careful. So essentially, if a client comes to you and says, Mike, this estate plan was like 10 years old, can you tell me what I should update? That is a huge red flag that you should say. And again, I know I kind of used the how I framed it previously, but it's really important for your client to know that you cannot tell your client what they should update or not update. Because the consequences could be is that I talked to Mike. Mike came back and told me I only need to update this section because I moved from California to Texas. And then, God forbid, something happens and there was something else that the advisor missed of like an executor or a beneficiary. So, adding all this context to say is there's a lot of different tools, including what we provide for you, that you can do a review. But again, the full expectations would be as clients, I can upload this into Trust and Will. I can give you a summary. The summary is going to give you more insights on what's in the estate plan. But I, as an advisor, not licensed to be an attorney, I can't make those specific, these are the 4 items that you need to update because that needs to be done through an attorney.
Cool. Okay. So you just got to be careful what you're, again, what you're recommending, what you're giving advice on.
I think like technology is like, moved very quickly. There's a lot of different ways that advisors are like being given the opportunity, frankly, to like add more and more value on, taxes with holistic plan, trust and will, other various different tools. So there are amazing, amazing ways. But again, it's just a matter of like when it comes to like taxes and estate planning, that there are professionals that are the ones who should be providing the specific advice. But man, I'll tell you, like advisors who leverage technology like ours, our peers, or even in other segments like tax, the value that's being delivered is amazing. Because what your clients want, or even your prospects, they don't want to go to you for one question on investments and go to another company for question 2 and in company 3 for question number 3. So the more that you can build like this amazing like ecosystem of services that you can provide, and then again, not to say you can provide all the services or you can answer all the questions, but you can help your client feel like it's part of what you're offering your clients, and then being able to connect the dots to say, great, well, If you do have more specifics on your taxes, here's a potential CPA that I work with, or on the estate planning piece, etc. So I think being more resourceful with the tools that are available is what's setting advisors apart.
Yeah, that's cool. It's almost like a doctor, right? Your general practice
Yeah,
doctor who can
yeah,
pretty much help you on everything, especially with resources, but in very specific circumstances, is going to send you out to specialists.
agreed.
Okay. Well, a good segue here is how does estate planning fit into a comprehensive financial plan? And I think I love what you just said. I think that really relates to this. But I feel like some advisors might hear all of this. Here's what you can say, here's what you can't say, and start to feel a little bit overwhelmed by, should I even try and do this? Right? There's a lot of different logistics around this. What are the benefits of offering this to my clients as this kind of larger comprehensive financial plan? And is it worth it?
This is the biggest opportunity that advisors are seeing and taking advantage of. And I know we have a few slides that show some of the impact and results. But at the end of the day, and I'm putting myself in this bucket because I did this over a decade with advisors, most financial plans have been lacking the biggest part of what your clients also need, which is, if all goes well, this financial plan is going to allow me to send my two kids to college, to retire at this age, to take two vacations a year, whatever. Like all your clients' aspirations and what they want, that's what you help them with. But we haven't done a very good job of doing in the past is protecting that financial plan. So if something happens to one of the spouses, who takes over the assets? If something happens to both, if there's kids under the age of 18, what happens? All those things that like, and truly the more I've like dove deeper into learning more from you advisors, is everything about the financial plan that you're helping your clients with is all to help your clients protect and provide that life that they want to the people that they care most about. So what we're seeing is advisors really leverage estate planning as a way to open up a financial planning conversation if the client isn't maybe open to it. Or two, on how everything life events, so having a kid, moving states, getting married, getting divorced, all those life events are all estate planning triggers that have a lot to do with a financial plan. So what we're seeing is it's less, Mike, of like, I think previously advisors were like, here's the business card, talk to the attorney, and that was the way that they like offered estate planning. We are now seeing leveraging estate planning as a way to add ongoing value. So in years 2, 3, 4 of you working with your clients, is how do you bring up estate planning in those annual reviews when you're updating the financial plan? So it's a really, really key and important part of that comprehensive financial plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's like you said, it is a really important piece of it. And if you're missing it, or the advisor doesn't know anything about it, and it's just this other thing that hopefully hopefully happened right, it's going to impact how you can create value, build that relationship, and also build a relationship across generations, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I think let's dive into some of the data, because I think some of the data that we have to share actually touches on that question a lot. Like, how is this part of this overall comprehensive financial plan that advisors can be building for their clients? First off, let's recap some of the data from the previous webinar. So if you were on the previous webinar, we dove into this 2025 report on how digital estate planning boosts advisor growth and client retention. This is a report that Trust and Will put together, and some really cool big takeaways from this. Number one, that clients believe their advisor should offer estate planning, right? Clients want it. And you guys have some really good stats on that. Do you want to talk through this first point a little bit, Andreas?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Your prospects or even some of your existing clients really value estate planning. So 70% of consumers believe advisors should offer estate planning. 37% said it's essential, 33% it's a valuable add-on. And then there are a big portion of clients in this survey that literally told us, I would actually switch to a financial advisor who offers estate planning. So we saw 40% of clients say, I would switch to an advisor who offers estate planning. And when it comes to point number two on like estate planning drives growth and referrals. So think of a story in which you're really integrating estate planning into your practice. So you onboard new clients, you can see their estate plan, you can see who are the executors, the beneficiaries. Their, for example, if they maybe added nonprofits into their estate plan in terms of charitable giving. Imagine all the ways that you can uncover more opportunities. Two, your client completes the estate plan, and then maybe they go to their neighbor's dinner party and say, "Gosh, how was your week? Good, we finally got our estate plan in place." We talked about this case study last time, Mike, on how there's firms that are now getting referrals literally from your existing clients, from people that they talk to, and they're like, "We got my estate plan through my advisor." That person's going to say, "Oh my gosh, we've been meaning to talk to an advisor. We've been meaning to do an estate plan. Can you help us with an intro?" And then lastly is like, do you feel like you have a clear snapshot of your client's existing assets, like all their assets? You may from a lot of your clients, but what an amazing way where you, as an advisor, can help look at, do they have life insurance? All their assets that they listed in the estate plan for you to have that snapshot that your client shares with you. And what that's turning into is, 55% increase in number of clients. In the study, we saw 56% improved clients retention. And then the last two are all about growth. So 41% saw growth in AUM from existing clients. And then 41% of the advisors in that survey saw more clients referrals. So really, really important.
Those are some big growth numbers as well. There are large numbers of advisors who are seeing that impact. It kind of makes sense. Like point number one is what's driving point number two, right? People want estate planning from their advisor. So naturally, the advisors who are offering estate planning are seeing some more of that growth, more referrals, because people want it.
Absolutely.
So the next the next report that you guys just released is this Peace of Mind report, which is super interesting. How estate planning shapes mental health in America. Totally different take on estate planning. Before we take a look at some of the data, could you talk us through how did you guys come up with this idea? Where did this one start?
We honestly, Mike, wanted to really understand. We talk about estate planning from an advisor's perspective. One of the big benefits outside of the growth and all the stats that we just shared is literally making your clients feel more peace of mind. Like it's that simple. So we obviously knew of course it's going to provide more peace of mind, but we wanted to better understand who is actually doing the estate planning more proactively in terms of single versus married versus with kids. And then two, what is the main difference between someone that's done an estate plan versus someone that has not done an estate plan? Meaning, what are they feeling? Is this affecting their kind of day to day? Do they think about it in the back of their mind of I need to get that estate plan done? And we did a webinar yesterday on this, and I actually shared personally, and I work at Trust and Will, my estate plan is fully done, but since we had Mateo, I haven't updated it. Mateo's not in my estate plan today. And literally, I keep thinking about it. And I'm like, we need to sit down with my wife. We just need to get everything done, updated. It's simple, get it notarized. But the stats that we're going to show here is it is in the back of people's mind. It really, really is. And it does affect them negatively when they don't do it. And it affects them very, very positively when they do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
little thing that's always there, right? It's not necessarily making your everyday bad. It's not necessarily making you unhappy. It's always there until you take care of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. So here are the key takeaways. So how estate planning impacts mental health. And this is truly when you think about your next client conversation or maybe a recent one and you talked about estate planning or your client expressed like I've been wanting to get this done, like please, a big part of your role as an advisor is to provide your clients with the accountability. We all know we need to save for retirements, be efficient with our spending, save for our college, all that stuff. Like we know that. And if it was that easy, we wouldn't hire an advisor because we're like, I'll do it myself. Right. But that accountability is such a big part of it. So let's dive into it. So people without an estate plan are 5 times more likely to feel anxious. It says every day. I don't know about every day, but anyways, that's what the study says and the way that the feedback that we got. 4 times more likely to say stress keeps them from relaxing daily. And then 3 times more likely to lose sleep nightly to worry. Compared to people that have an estate plan or planners. So 2 times more likely to have more clear medical decisions in place. 2 times more likely to feel prepared for unexpected life events. And 1.6 times more likely to know where key documents are and how to access them. So if you look at the 3 stats on the very first one around the non-planners who don't have an estate plan, it's affecting them. Like it's more than just it's in the back of my mind. There's literally real life people that told us in this study, over 500 of them, so substantial sample size, that literally said like some of them are like think about it at night and they are not sleeping as well and they have anxiety about it. So imagine a world, and this is consistent feedback I can tell you from my personal experience of being a trustable for close to 6 years now, when you help your clients on the education, accountability, and they complete the estate plan, they come back to you and say, Mike, thank you. I feel so much better that we got that done.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. And it makes a lot of sense. Like when you're thinking about your financial future, you're thinking about your overall, the future of your life, having an estate plan and having all that stuff sorted out, especially as you get to be a little bit older, you have kids, you have assets, like you own a house. It becomes that much more important. It's that thing that you're always like, oh man, I really need to get that done.
Totally.
And it's also a triggering event for some of those other things, right? You do your estate plan and you're going to get that clear medical decision plans in place. You're going to feel more ready for unexpected life events, have your key documents in one place. So I think it's a really cool study. And it kind of highlights, I think a financial plan has a similar impact, right? If you don't have a financial plan and you don't have anything
Totally.
like that, you're going to lack clarity. You're going to be more stressed. You're going to have, it's the same exact thing, right?
You feel confident. Like you feel that confidence that says, my paycheck comes in. I know where the money's going. I know how it's being attributed. I know that month by month, based on my, financial plan and in my relationship with my advisor, I know that I'm on track of where
Yeah.
I'm going. And like we all need that like direction. It's really important. So yeah, thanks for adding that. That definitely has a lot to do with a very comprehensive and a financial plan that your client like really understands. They're really bought in. They're excited about it. Absolutely.
Cool. So this is a cool report. You guys can go to Trust and Will and check it out. Andreas, maybe we could send that out after as well for people to
Yeah,
look at all the data on it.
I agree.
But let's talk a little bit about how Snappy Kraken and Trust and Will work together. This is another one of the big questions we had after the last webinar. Is like, where does Snappy Kraken fit in? Where does Trust and Will fit in? And what's the difference between the two? So, I mean, I think the simplest way to explain it is Snappy Kraken is the marketing and communications piece, right? So we got all kinds of campaigns, on all kinds of different topics, but some of them are on estate plans. And with Snappy Kraken, you can launch these different campaigns to be educating your clients, your prospects, your audience on estate planning. And really, it all starts with starting a conversation. So starting more conversations. You can use all these different campaigns to start more conversations with clients and prospects around estate planning and start building that relationship, right? Whether somebody's going to take action in that moment or not, who knows? But it's all about building trust with people, building relationship, and starting conversations with people who are ready to move forward. Once they are ready to move forward and they want to build an estate plan, that's where trust and will comes in. Go tell us a little bit about what that implementation looks like, Andreas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. And what I would actually add on is when we first started working with you all together, like we had so many advisors that would literally come in and say, like, okay, like amazing way on how Trust will help streamline the estate planning process, the creation of my clients' documents, et cetera. How can I get this out to my clients? How can I communicate the estate planning education? How can I bring up the awareness? So that's where you guys come in and have done an amazing job in helping our mutual advisors do that. But in short, to answer your question, think of us, frankly, as a TurboTax for estate planning, focused just on estate planning for your clients. So you have an amazing dashboard and you can schedule a demo if you're interested, if you haven't seen it yet, where you can one, get education, get checklists, two, refer clients to the platform, and you have full visibility into their progress. Have they started? Have they finalized it? Where are they? Right. So you have full visibility. And then the last, what, 3 quarters, we've invested a ton into once your clients complete the estate plan, helping you uncover planning opportunities. So who's in the estate plan? Key people, key assets. We do an amazing job of visualizing that for you so that you can turn that into a client facing meeting. If your clients make updates to the estate plan, you get notified. So there's a lot around the document creation, the estate, I wouldn't say management, but like the updates that your clients go through as they have life changes, and for you to be top of mind for your clients as they go through that process.
Yeah, so it's really both sides of the coin, right? Adding estate planning to your service offering and just like kind of plopping it on the website isn't going to be enough to start these conversations, to drive that awareness, to drive that education.
Totally.
Uh, and that's where these marketing campaigns come in. And then, you guys streamline the
Yeah.
implementation. So it's
And
kind of
Mike, you
everything
guys have
to offer this.
absolutely, and you guys have shared this in the past, but like the impact of estate planning content, I think it was like your second highest performing content. So look, at the end of the day, like your clients or I would say, well, clients and prospects care about this so much that they will read estate planning content. They will be more gravitated towards an advisor who's really prioritizing the estate planning education because that's how much your clients really care about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look at some of these campaigns. Like you said, these are some of the top performing campaigns on the platform. I think our number one performing campaign is focused on tax, which makes sense. Tax is a huge topic. Number two is estate planning. So some of the campaigns that we're looking at right now are the top performing campaigns on Snappy Kraken. We've got a bunch on estate planning. Here's four. And a lot of them are created in collaboration with Trust and Will. So we got our estate planning lead generation campaign. We have the estate planning education email communication, which is a series of 6 emails educating on the value of estate planning. We have the Trust versus Wills video with a video from Trust and
Mhm.
Will. I know a lot of advisors have launched that. And our estate planning mistakes and how to avoid them. Um, talking about some of the results. First of all, this is just kind of two featured campaigns that we were just looking at. Open rates well above industry average, right? So right in that 28% range, which is really solid. But the open to click ratio is massive. I mean, 47%, 63%. Those are huge, huge click through rates. Meaning, once people open this email, they're clicking through, right? More than half of them are clicking through to go and check that out, which is, a typical click through rate would be more in the range of like 5 to
Mhm.
10% would be a really good click through rate. So seeing that high of a click through rate is
That's huge.
pretty huge. Yeah. So a lot of cool campaigns, and we do actually have one brand new estate planning campaign as well, which I wanted to mention. I would call it kind of estate planning adjacent. It's not directly on estate planning in the way that those last four that we looked at are. This one is how to talk to aging parents about estate planning and long-term care. Kind of like how to navigate that conversation. I can tell you right now, like when I saw this campaign come out, I was like, oh man, this is perfect. I was just at Thanksgiving. We hosted my whole family. My parents are there. My wife's parents are there. And the whole time I'm like thinking, man, my parents are a lot older than, last time we did this. Like they're just kind of getting to that place where I'm honestly not sure if they even have thought about this. And we really need to be thinking about like how to navigate that conversation. So if I was going to get this for an advisor, I would absolutely be opening it because it's very contextually impactful. It's something that I'm already thinking about. It kind of hits on this. It's a challenging conversation to have. And this is just an educational campaign on how to have that conversation. What do you think about this one, Andreas?
Mike, I was literally as I was seeing this and looking through this, the more relevant content that you can put in front of your clients around their specific life events. Because if you send this to someone that doesn't have aging parents, right, as an example, like how is that going to be relevant? So I just love this so much because at the end of the day, what your clients or your prospect is going to feel is like, hey, Mike, thanks so much for the introductory meeting with me, learning more about what you're going through. Imagining a way where you can like, I thought of you and wanted to send this over as an educational piece. It's so much more personalized. It's so much more relevant to what your clients are going through. And then obviously another example could be is like your younger clients who just got married, who are thinking of buying a house now. So content that's now relevant to that specific life event that they went through. And I'm super excited for us to continue or to collaborate with you guys on building more content that's like specific to certain life stages or life events that your clients are going through. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna again make your client feel like, gosh, like I really feel heard, understood about what I'm going through. This, relationship that I have with you is amazing because you're providing direct information that helps me feel better about what I'm going through based on the education that you're providing.
Yeah,
So this is
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I was really excited to see this campaign, and we talk a lot about the importance of segmentation. I think you were just kind of bringing that up, right? If you send this to
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't have aging parents, it's not going to land, right? Then you'd be like, okay, well, this would probably be useful to me in like 10 years or something. Um, but I love that example you just gave of being able to personally send this to a client. So I mean that's the best. You can do that kind of personalized outreach to someone. That's fantastic. The other way you could use a campaign like this is segmenting your audience based on age. For who would like what age range of people is most likely to be kind of falling into this aging parents conversation. You know, that might be like 30 to 45, something in that range, and be able to segment your audience based on age and start sending content that is specific to them that really adds value for them. And I know, yeah, I talk to our head of advisor content all the time, Angel. He's actually gonna be on the
Mhm.
next office hours. We'll be talking about some Q1 content that's coming out, and he's increasingly trying to create these like kind of more specific types of content that add a lot of value because they are specific and they feel personalized.
Absolutely.
So more to come. I know we got a bunch of questions, so I think let's take a look through some of these questions. And while we're doing that, if you want to learn more about Trust and Will, if you want to learn more about Snappy Kraken, you can open up your smartphone, take a picture of one of these. I think those links should get dropped in the chat as well if you'd like to book a demo. Uh, we'd love to show you some more of the platform, and I'm sure Andreas and his team would love to show you more about Trust and Will as well. So let's see what we got for some questions here. Okay, so Sean says, any ideas if we are including trust and wills for our clients, what we can put on collateral for this service?
Good question. Look, I think collateral, we have a lot of advisors that are marketing estate planning heavily. And we have many mutual advisors, Mike, that are doing this on their websites, on when you create like a form, if you want to talk to the advisor based on a prospect that's interested. Look, at the end of the day, collateral, it is anything estate planning related is we have a lot of advisors that will add like disclosures like Mazabel Financial Planning does not offer estate planning services. So I think it's really just disclosures, adding disclosures. There's many advisors that love to like, I wouldn't say white label, but like, do co-branding in terms of like our PDFs, which we can do that. Like we give you the option to do that. But again, if anything else that you're kind of creating from a collateral perspective internally, just making sure you have that disclosure on there. So really making sure if your client's looking at like a PDF that you send them or whatever it might be, like, hey, they know if they look at the fine print, Mazabel Financial Planning is in a law firm. They're not providing legal advice. But it does bring a lot of value and like bring in your brand and your name into that collateral. Absolutely.
Do you have AI parsing of existing estate plans to analyze current plans, let you know what the key elements are and what might be missing or insufficient in the current plan? So I think that's within
Ye-
Trust and Will.
Yes, Lisa. So that was gosh, launched about a quarter ago. So advisors now you can upload an estate plan. We can do a review, gives you a summary of what's in the document. So definitely, if you haven't scheduled a demo, feel free to do that because you can see that live and test out the doc extraction feature that we launched.
Cool. And then Lisa had a follow-up question as well. What does the Trust and Will attorney cost to the client on top of the fees for doing the estate plan?
Yep, good question. So 299. So your client would be paying $299 to access our attorney network. And again, as I explained, they would get access to the attorney for a full 12 months.
Cool. I think that probably answers Bill's question as well. Why would an advisor go through Trust and Will versus creating a relationship with a local one? Is that 12-month is a pretty big add-on.
Yes, absolutely. I would probably add on a few things like I would ask yourself this as an advisor. What percentage of your clients have an estate plan in place? Most of our advisors that we talk to, very few, maybe half at most, have an estate plan in place. So I would really think about why. So is that a cost factor where your clients have not done an estate plan because they need something very simple and they don't need a $3,000 or $5,000 estate plan? Is it that you now have a virtual practice and you have clients in 10, 15, 20 states and you don't have like local relationships there? So there's a lot more, Bill, around how advisors are kind of, how can you deliver solutions for your clients depending on what your client prefers? Because not every client's going to want to do an online estate plan. There's going to be some that want in person, have coffee with the attorney. I'm okay paying $5,000. So I think it's really giving advisors more options depending on the clients and their needs.
Cool. You mentioned it was 299. Is that the 299 flat rate for the year?
Yes, flat rate for the year. And that's obviously just for the attorney access. Depending on the documents that they do, they would obviously be paying for the trust pricing or the will pricing.
Yep. Cool. Can a client update an existing estate plan using Trust and Will or only create new ones?
Absolutely. They can update an estate plan. They can do an amendments. They can do, if they, for example, have like a trust, they can do a trust reinstatement. So there's a lot of different options that they have for sure.
Cool. Does Trust and Will have the option to refer the client or pay for the client's estate plan?
Lisa is full of questions. I love it. There's two options. So the client can pay for the estate plan or you can pay for the estate plan.
And then would an advisor refer a prospect to Trust and Will without that person doing any financial planning with that person first? So would you do a financial plan first or you just refer them?
That's a good question. Honestly, I would probably say like when we look at like our top advisors that do a lot of estate plans with us or like their clients do, uh, I would probably say most of those advisors are doing an estate plan, or not doing the estate plan, but leading that estate planning conversation in conjunction with a financial plan. But are there a lot of advisors that refer clients to us who are not doing a financial plan? Absolutely. So I think, frankly, Lisa, like it kind of depends on like the practice and how you really want to integrate this into your service model, is what I would say.
Cool. All right, and then I think final question from Lisa. Some good questions, Lisa. Thanks for asking. Does Snappy Kraken partner with any other estate planning firms or only Trust and Will? And as far as I know, Trust and Will is the only estate planning service that we partner with. We got all this cool content we've created together. We keep doing these webinars, so we're pretty excited about the partnership. How does Trust and Will vet the lawyers it refers?
We have a whole process there. So I'll be high level with this to not dive deep into the details. But in short, we have an attorney operations team. So a full team that does the vetting. So these are attorneys that are licensed in their specific state. They have their own practice. So they have, gosh, I think at least 3 to 5 years experience. They focus on estate planning. And then they actually vet us as well. They vet our documents. They go through that process as well. So there's a lot behind the scenes on how we vet attorneys to onboard into our platform.
Okay, cool. And last question from Ryan is, what are advisors charging their clients for this, for both married and single clients? And are they just sending the link, or are they filling it out, or are they actually doing it in a face-to-face meeting?
Yeah, it's another really good question. Gosh, I'd probably say first and foremost, you are not charging your clients for an estate plan because that could be perceived as providing legal documents to your clients and charging for them. What we are seeing many advisors do is actually charge for financial planning that includes estate planning. So, I'll give you an example. If you're an LPL affiliated advisor, LPL compliance is a whole guidance on how you can charge for financial planning if it includes certain approved activities that have to do with financial planning. So, estate planning education, the estate plan review, et cetera. So, I think it's less of charging for an estate plan and more about the financial planning activities that you're charging for. So I think that has a lot to do with, are you charging hourly? There's some advisors in our network that will actually, if you're doing a financial plan and it includes an estate plan, then there might be a different, fee that's included there. So there's a couple different options when it comes to that.
Cool. And then Ryan also asked, do you have a sample agreement to accomplish the planning aspect, disclosures, etc.?
Yeah, I think some of these detailed questions, schedule a demo. Definitely happy to show you kind of like our ADV disclosures, all those things. So absolutely, Ryan, we can kind of help guide you in terms of what resources we have for you. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that is about it for questions today. If you have more questions specific to any of the platforms, book a demo. Like Andrea said, we're happy to walk you through it, answer any of those questions, and show you what it actually looks like. So last thing, we're going to be back in 2 weeks for our final office hours of the year. We're bringing Angel, who's our head of advisor content, the guy behind making all these really cool estate planning campaigns that we were just looking at. And we're going to be talking about 2026, right? What are we recommending for your Q1 marketing plan? And we were actually building out an entire Q1 marketing plan. I was working on this with Angel and some of the folks on the marketing team earlier. We're going to build out this entire Q1 marketing plan with specific campaign recommendations, some foundational elements that you should have set up so that you can go into 2026 feeling confident and ready and having everything lined up. So we're going to be walking through that in 2 weeks. Love to have you join us for the next office hours. Andres, thank you for joining today. It's great to have you back.
Always Thanks for having me. Always appreciates the time with you all.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we will see you next time.